Episode 1, The Return. New Orleans always smelled like rain and regret. I stood on the rooftop of an old brick building in the quarter, coat flapping in the warm wind. 7 feet of scars and stitches, staring out at the city like it owed me something. It didn't, I owed it. My name is The.stormforge. I was once known as the Monster, but I took my maker's first name to give me more humanity. But still, most people who see me run, the ones who don't, usually regret it. Below me, jazz spilled out of a half-hidden speakeasy. Red door, no sign, only people who knew what they were looking for ever found it. I knew exactly what I was looking for. Livia. It had been 43 years since I last saw her in Paris. 43 years since I walked away and left her asleep in a hotel bed in Paris with just a note saying I was sorry. I told myself it was to protect her. Funny how many lies we tell ourselves. She's in there right now. I can feel her. That cold, ancient pull that only she ever had on me. All right, time to face what I ran from. The red door creaked when I pushed it open. The jazz died mid-note. Every vampire in the room froze. And there she was, sitting in the back like a queen on her throne. Black silk dress, pale skin, those same dangerous eyes that still cut right through me after all these decades. Livia, she smiled, slow and sharp. Well, look what the devil finally dragged in. Livia rose from her chair with that same unnatural grace I remembered. The entire room watched us. Even the jazz band didn't dare start playing again. She stopped just a few feet away, looking up at me. Her eyes moved slowly across my face, tracing every scar, every stitch. You got bigger, she said softly. You got more dangerous, I replied. A small smile tugged at her lips. Flattery? From you? That's new. I didn't smile back. I didn't come here to flirt, Liv. No? She tilted her head. Then why did you come, Victor? 43 years, not a word, not a single message. And now you just walk through my door. The air between us felt thick. I could feel every set of eyes in the room waiting for my answer. I came because the world's ending, I said quietly. And whether I like it or not, I need your help. Livia's expression changed. The teasing look vanished. Something colder and much older settled in her eyes. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the faint scent of night-blooming jasmine on her skin. Then you'd better start talking, she whispered. Because the last time you needed me, you left me in Paris with only a note saying, I'm sorry, laying on a pillow next to me after a night of being together. She stared up at me, waiting. And for the first time in 43 years, I had no idea what to say to her. The silence stretched between us like a blade. I looked down at her, at the woman I'd once loved enough to walk away from, the woman I'd abandoned. Reports of drones and strange lights have been spotted across the world. The war has started giant harvesting machines drilling into the earth. They're not invading us. They're harvesting the planet itself, water, rare earthly materials, magical ley lines, everything. Livia's eyes narrowed. And you came to me because I'm not enough on my own anymore. The words tasted bitter. I need allies. I need you. She let out a soft, dangerous laugh. Oh, Victor, you really know how to make a girl feel special. Her voice dropped even lower. You disappear for decades, then show up on my doorstep talking about the end of the world and expect me to just, what, follow you into battle like some lovesick fledgling? I didn't answer. I just held her gaze. The tension in the room was so thick, it felt like the walls were holding their breath. Then Livia did something I didn't expect. She reached up, placed her cold hand against the side of my scarred face and whispered, You're still the worst kind of trouble I have ever loved. Before I could respond, a low, mechanical hum cut through the walls. Every head in the speakeasy turned toward the ceiling. Red lights pulsed through the windows. They were here. The jazz died completely. The only sound left was that low, mechanical hum growing louder above us. Livia's hand dropped from my face. Her eyes flashed with something dangerous. Everyone out, the back, she ordered, voice sharp. Now. The vampires scattered like shadows. Only Livia, a young fledgling I didn't recognize, and I remained. The fledgling looked terrified. Skinny kid, maybe 20 when he was turned, wide eyes, shaking hands. "Who the hell is that?" I asked, nodding toward him. "His name is Remy," Livia said, already moving toward the door. "My newest. And right now, he's your problem too." Remy's voice cracked. "What? What is that thing?" I stepped past them both, pushing the red door open. Rain hammered down on the street. Hovering 30 feet above the cobblestones was a sleek silver probe. Blue sensors swept across the buildings like cold, searching eyes. It wasn't looking for people. It was interested in power it could siphon from the earth, but it found us instead. "Stay behind me," I growled. The probe's sensors locked onto me instantly. A high-pitched whine filled the air as it powered up its weapon. I felt Elias stir in the back of my mind, his old Scottish voice cutting through my thoughts. "Ley line, lad. Pull it. Now." I raised my hand, my scarred fingers chanting a spell under my breath, and like an orchestra conductor, I pulled lighting from the sky. Blue lightning crackled down from the sky and slammed into the probe. The machine screamed. Sparks rained down like burning stars as the probe crashed into the street, metal twisting and melting in the rain. But it wasn't alone. Two more rose from the gulf, bigger and meaner than the first. Livia appeared at my side, fangs out, eyes glowing with that ancient hunger. Remy stood frozen a few steps behind us, staring at the wreckage in pure terror. I cracked my neck, my blood alchemy already burning in my veins. "Well," I muttered, "welcome to the war, kid." The three of us stood at the edge of the pier, rain hammering the wooden planks like gunfire. Out over the black water of the Gulf, 20 glowing blue lights rose in perfect formation, cutting through the storm like angry stars. They were coming straight for us. Remy's voice shook. There's too many of them. We can't fight that." Just as he said that, he took a plasma bolt to the shoulder, knocking him back 3 feet, injuring him. "Remy!" Livia screamed. As soon as I heard it, I was there. I cut my wrist, letting my blood swell out. "Here, kid, drink this. Will heal you," I said, bending down, pressing my still bleeding wrist to his mouth as he drank greedily. As soon as I pulled my wrist away, his wound started to heal. Then I stood up. Before the wound could heal, I created a long crimson spear out of my own blood. My blood alchemy burned up my arm like fire. Livia stared at the oncoming swarm. Her violet eyes narrowed. "We're not winning this one with just the three of us." At the same time, a deep grinding roar echoed from the French Quarter. The gargoyles had awakened, the heavy flapping of wings, followed by the scrape of stone on stone. Livia's smile was small and dangerous. From the rooftops and alleyways behind us, her vampires answered her call. 15 of them poured out of the shadows. Some leapt from the buildings in long, graceful arcs, landing on the pier with predatory silence. Others dissolved into swirling black mist that streaked forward like living smoke, racing toward the drones. At the same time, a deep, grinding roar echoed from the French Quarter. The gargoyles had awakened. 10 massive stone figures broke free from their perches on the old cathedrals and mansions. Their wings cracked as they spread wide, red eyes glowing with ancient fury. They launched into the stormy sky with ground-shaking roars. Livia's voice cut through the chaos, cold and commanding. "Protect the city! Tear them from the sky!" The battle ignited. 3 vampires dissolved into mist and slipped inside the nearest drones. A second later, the machines began tearing themselves apart from within. Sparks and burning circuitry exploding out of their hulls as the vampires ripped through wires and thrusters. 4 more vampires leapt from the pier like living missiles. They landed on the backs of 2 drones, using long razor-sharp claws to dig into the seams of the drone to gain entrance into the drone's inside, shredding metal. 1 vampire was thrown off, but another drove her fist straight through a drone's core, ripping out a glowing blue power cell. The gargoyles slammed into the swarm like wrecking balls. 1 stone beast snatched a drone in its talons and smashed it into another, sending both spiraling down into the flooded street with a deafening crash. Another gargoyle barreled through 3 drones at once, stone wings shattering metal on impact. I hurled my blood spear. It punched straight through one drone's hull, tore through its electronics, and kept going, skewering a second machine behind it. Both exploded in midair. "Remy, stay behind us!" I shouted. But Remy wasn't listening. His eyes were wide, with his wounds healed, but something was changing in him. My blood was already working through his system. One of the smaller scout drones broke formation and dove straight at him. Remy screamed and jumped. He leapt impossibly high, higher than any normal fledgling vampire should have been able to jump, using his body as a ram, knocking the drones off course into each other. Grabbing on the nearest drone and slamming his claws into the drone's underside. He started ripping at its thrusters with his bare hands, screaming the whole time. Livia blurred past me, a streak of crimson energy. She drove her fist through a drone's sensor array, then spun and tore its wing off with her bare hands. I called down lightning again. The bolt slammed into a cluster of 4 drones, frying them instantly. The explosion lit up the entire pier, but the drones were learning. 3 of them broke off and focused fire on me. Plasma bolts ripped through the rain. I barely managed to throw up a shield of hardened blood in time. The impact still knocked me back 10 feet, slamming me into a lamppost. Livia was suddenly beside me, grabbing my arm. "You're not dying on me tonight, Victor." A gargoyle roared as it grabbed one of the attacking drones and smashed it into the pier. Stone and metal exploded everywhere. The vampires in mist forms swirled around 2 more drones, choking their engines, until they plummeted into the water. 2 gargoyles collided with a larger probe in midair, their combined weight snapping one of its wings clean off. The machine spiraled wildly before crashing into a nearby warehouse. For a moment, it looked like we were winning. Then the sky lit up with even more blue lights. Another wave, at least 15 more, was rising from the Gulf. Livia landed beside me, breathing hard, her silk dress torn and soaked with rain and blood. She looked at the new swarm, then at me. Her voice was low but steady. "This isn't a fight anymore, Victor." She met my eyes, rain streaming down her face. "This is a war." The second wave hit us like a hammer. Drones poured in from every direction. Our side fought hard, but we were outnumbered. A vampire named Sabine, one of Livia's oldest, dissolved into mist and slipped inside a drone. She tore it apart from within, but the machine exploded before she could escape. The blast ripped her apart. Her scream was swallowed by the rain. 2 more vampires leapt onto the back of a larger probe. They were shredding its armor when the drone spun violently and slammed them both into a warehouse wall. One didn't get back up. The other tried, but a plasma bolt punched through his chest mid-leap. He hit the water and didn't resurface. Above us, the gargoyles were taking heavy losses too. One massive stone beast had just ripped a drone in half when 3 smaller probes converged on it. They fired in unison. The gargoyle's stone body cracked, then shattered. It fell from the sky like a broken statue, smashing through the roof of a nearby building. Another gargoyle roared in fury and charged, only to be grabbed by 2 drones and torn apart midair, chunks of stone raining down around us. Livia's voice cracked for the first time all night. "No!" Livia shouted in the rain. She blurred forward in a rage, tearing through 2 drones with her bare hands. But I could see the pain in her eyes. These were her people. Her city. Remy was breathing hard beside me, eyes wide with horror as he watched another vampire get blasted out of the sky. I didn't know it would be like this," he whispered. I gripped my bleeding hand tighter, blood alchemy flaring brighter. Neither did I. The remaining gargoyles and vampires rallied around us, but the drones kept coming, more lights rising from the Gulf every second. Livia landed beside me, soaked in rain and the blood of her fallen. Her voice was raw. "We can't hold them here. Not like this." She looked at the burning wreckage, the floating bodies in the water, the shattered stone of fallen gargoyles. Then back at me. Her next words were quiet, but they cut deep. "Victor, we're losing." The drones were closing in fast. At least 30 now, their blue lights cutting through the storm like a swarm of angry hornets. Another gargoyle roared as it was torn apart midair. 2 more vampires were blasted out of the sky, their bodies hitting the water with sickening splashes. Sargent end the episode. Episode 2. Then, from behind us, 5 brilliant blasts of magic ripped through the rain-soaked air, each one slamming into a different drone with ear-splitting force. The machines exploded in blinding white-orange flashes, sending twisted metal and sparks cascading down into the flooded street like deadly fireworks. I spun around at the same time as Livia, heart hammering against my ribs. 5 figures stood at the edge of the pier, 3 wizards and 2 witches, their dark robes whipping violently in the howling storm. Residual magic still glowed around their hands, casting eerie blue and green light across their determined faces. The lead wizard, an older woman with silver-streaked hair plastered to her face by the rain, stepped forward. "We noticed the barrage of drones from across the city," she called out, her strong voice cutting through the thunder and downpour. "The Unity decided to weigh in. You clearly needed the help." Livia's eyes narrowed dangerously, but she held her tongue. Not now. Behind the Unity mages, the surviving vampires and gargoyles regrouped in the chaos. What was left of them? 8 vampires remained, several badly wounded and bleeding from deep gashes. Only 4 gargoyles were still airborne, their massive stone bodies cracked and scorched, wings grinding as they fought to stay aloft. One of the witches raised her staff high and sent another bolt of crackling emerald energy streaking into a diving drone, exploding at mid-air. "We're not here to save your asses," the lead wizard said bluntly, already gathering power for another spell. "We're here because those things threaten everything, including us." Remy stumbled up beside me, drenched and trembling, eyes wide with the aftershock of his transformation. "Who the hell are these people?" "Back up," I muttered, the metallic taste of blood on my tongue as I formed another crimson spear in my hand. "For now." Livia glanced at the Unity mages, then back at the endless swarm of glowing red eyes cutting through the storm. Her voice dropped low and deadly. "Then let's finish this." The 5 Unity mages stepped forward in tight formation, magic flaring brighter around them like living auras. The remaining vampires and gargoyles fell in beside them. Even Remy straightened, raw new power burning visibly in his veins. The drones kept coming in relentless waves, but now we weren't fighting alone. The moment the Unity mages drew close, the lead wizard froze mid-step, her sharp eyes locked onto me, or more accurately, onto the ancient presence coiled inside my chest. "Elias," she whispered, her voice thick with recognition and raw disgust. The other 4 mages stiffened instantly. One of the witches actually stumbled backward, gripping her staff tighter. Elias didn't wait for permission. His deep, ancient voice rolled out of my mouth like thunder, rolling across centuries. "Hello, Cassandra. Still as judgmental as ever, I see." The lead wizard, Cassandra, glared at me with open contempt, rain streaming down her face. "So it's true. The leech still clings to that poor creature's body. We thought you'd have the decency to fade away after all this time." Elias's laugh was cold and humorless, vibrating through my throat. "Still calling me a parasite after all these years? I've kept my son safe and alive. I've taught him. I've been more of a father to him than any of you would ever be." One of the younger wizards snarled, raising his staff threateningly. "You stole that boy's life the day you merged with him." "I saved it," Elias shot back through me, my voice sharpening like a blade. "You Unity bastards wrote my son off as a monster the moment he was born. I was the only one who saw what he could become." Livia stepped firmly between us, her violet eyes blazing with protective fury. "Enough! We don't have time for your ancient grudges. Those drones are almost on us." Cassandra's gaze flicked from me to Livia, then back to the incoming swarm of lights piercing the storm. She exhaled sharply, jaw tight. "Fine. We'll deal with this later," she said, the words clearly aimed at Elias and me. "For now, the enemy of my enemy." She raised her staff high. The other 4 mages fell into formation around her, magic crackling and snapping in the charged air like living electricity. Elias spoke one last time through me, quieter, just loud enough for the Unity mages to hear over the rain. "You may hate me, but you know what I can do. Let's show these machines why they should fear New Orleans." Cassandra gave a single, reluctant nod. The Unity mages unleashed a coordinated barrage, roaring fire, jagged lightning, and crushing raw force, slamming into the front line of drones. Explosions bloomed across the stormy sky in brilliant bursts. The surviving vampires and gargoyles surged forward with renewed, desperate fury. Even as the battle raged around us, I could feel the heavy weight of the Unity mages' stares boring into me, into us. They knew Elias was here, and they weren't happy about it, but the swarm was overwhelming. More drones poured in, their mechanical whine cutting through the thunder. Elias's voice spoke low and urgent inside my head. They're using the same three schools they always have. Let's remind them there's more than one way to fight. I felt him reach deep into our shared power, the void, pulling on something ancient and rarely used together. I let him guide me completely. Everyone fall back, I shouted over the chaos. I slammed my bleeding palm against the flooded pier. Blood alchemy surged. Instead of spears or blades, my blood mixed with the falling rainwater and the very ground beneath us. Elias and I spoke as one, our voices overlapping in eerie harmony. Tides, water, and power of the forgotten rise in our hour of need. We poured all of our energy and void power into the spell. The water around the pier surged upward like a vengeful living creature. A massive waterspout of dark, blood-tinged water rose and swirled 20 feet into the air, heading towards the attacking drones, shaped by Elias's ancient magic and my own blood. It sucked in the first 3 rows of drones, swirling them around in the cyclone until they hit each other, blowing up into pieces. The Unity mages actually paused mid-spell, staring in stunned silence. Cassandra's eyes widened. That's not one of our spells. Elias answered through me, voice smug. No, it's one of mine. You people always did love your fire and lightning. You forgot the earth and water still answer to those who respect them. 2 gargoyles seized the opening. They flew straight into the chaos, smashing apart the waterlogged drones with powerful stone fists, while the machines glitched and smoked. Livia blurred across the battlefield in a streak of crimson fury, tearing into the disoriented drones. Remy leapt high with a feral scream and drove his fist through a drone's underside, ripping out wiring and sparks. The Unity mages recovered fast. One witch summoned a howling vortex of wind that shredded 2 more drones apart, while the others maintained their relentless barrage. But the cost kept mounting. Another vampire was blasted from the sky in a spray of blood. A gargoyle took a direct plasma hit to the chest and plummeted, shattering into rubble on the pier with a deafening crack. Livia's face was grim as she landed beside me, rain and blood streaking her skin. We're still losing too many. I looked out over the dark gulf. More lights kept rising from the horizon, an endless, mechanical tide. Elias spoke again, only to me. We can't win by brute force. We need to be smarter. I nodded, feeling the next spell already building between us. Something far older, something the Unity had never witnessed. Get ready, I told Livia and the others. We're not done yet. The previous spell had drained us badly. My vision blurred at the edges, and I could feel Elias's presence thinning like a candle guttering in the wind. The void threatened to pull us under like a rising tide. That one cost us, he warned. We can't do that again without paying for it. But we had no choice. I dropped to one knee in the flooded street. The void overwhelmed us, threatening to take us. My hands shook violently. Everyone get behind me, I growled through gritted teeth. Livia hesitated, worry flashing across her face. Victor! I slammed both bleeding palms into the ground. Elias and I spoke together again, voices raw and strained with effort. Roots of the ancients! The ground beneath the pier trembled violently. Massive black roots, twisted with blood and ancient magic, erupted from the concrete like living spears. They shot upward, impaling dozens of drones at once, tearing through metal and electronics until the machines exploded in showers of sparks and fire. The Unity mages watched in stunned silence. But the spell exacted its brutal price. Agony exploded through my chest. My ribs felt like they were cracking apart. Elias screamed inside my head, a raw pain sound I had never heard from him before. Too much. We're burning too hot. I collapsed forward onto my hands, coughing up thick blood that mixed with the rainwater. My vision went blinding white. I could barely draw breath. Livia was suddenly there, one strong arm around the shoulders, holding me upright against the storm. Victor, talk to me. I'm fine, I lied, feeling fire running throughout my whole body. Elias's voice was barely a whisper now. We can't cast anything else like that. Not for a while. We're both too damaged. Remy rushed over, eyes wide with terror. He looks like he's dying. The remaining gargoyles and vampires fought on, but exhaustion was claiming them too. Another vampire fell from the sky. 2 more gargoyles were smashed to rubble by concentrated fire. Livia looked at the endless swarm, then down at me, her expression a raw mix of fury and fear. "We have to fall back," she said tightly. "We can't hold this pier." Cassandra stepped forward, rain streaming down her face. For once, contempt was absent from her voice. "He's right. That last spell, it bought us time. But we need to regroup, now." I tried to push myself up, but my arms buckled. Livia caught me before I collapsed into the flooded street. As the survivors began their fighting retreat, I stared out at the gulf through the rain. More lights kept coming. Then suddenly all the incoming drones just blew up, all of them exploring at the same time. "What the hell just happened? They all just exploded for no apparent reason," Remy asked in confusion. The world spun violently. My knees gave out completely. The last thing I remembered was Livia's arms catching me as everything faded to black. When I woke up, I wasn't on the pier anymore. I lay on a cold, unforgiving stone floor inside a massive circular chamber. Tall marble pillars soared around me, etched with glowing ancient runes that pulsed faintly. Blue flame torches cast long, dancing shadows across the walls. The air smelled of incense and old magic. This wasn't New Orleans. This was a unity fortress. I groaned and pushed myself up, every muscle screaming in protest. My whole body felt like it had been run over by a truck. Elias was silent, too silent, in the back of my mind. Livia stood a few feet away, arms crossed tightly, tension radiating from her posture. Remy stood beside her, still pale and shaky, his new power making the air around him feel slightly charged. Arranged in a half circle on a raised dais sat 12 Unity mages in formal embroidered robes. Cassandra occupied the center seat, staring down at me like I was something foul she'd stepped in. Elias stirred weakly inside me. "Oh, this is bad." Cassandra's voice echoed through the vast chamber, cold and formal as winter steel. "The.stormforge, Elias Blackthorn, you have been brought before the Council of the Unity on charges of unlawful soul binding, unauthorized continuation of life beyond natural death, and endangering the mortal realm through reckless use of forbidden magics." She leaned forward, eyes hard as flint. "Today we decide whether Elias Blackthorn will be forcibly exorcised from your body, or whether you will both be allowed to continue this abomination of an existence." The chamber fell deathly silent, the weight of their judgment pressing down on me. Livia stepped forward, voice sharp. "He just helped save your city." Cassandra didn't even glance at her. "This is not a discussion, vampire. This is a trial." Livia exploded in the room. "You will refer to me as my title dictates, Queen of New Orleans." "Sorry for the disrespect." "Queen of New Orleans," Cassandra said. "As the vampire Queen of New Orleans." Livia said, "Victor is my king and could claim diplomatic immunity and refuse to stand trial." "Yes, he could," Cassandra said, "but because Victor and Elias are two separate entities, Elias could still have to stand trial for the charges. Then me and my vampires could go to war with Unity over Victor and Elias in this trial." Livia said coldly, "Are you sure all your vampires would be willing to risk their life for this thing?" Cassandra said. I tried to stand to speak before things could escalate out of control, before one or both would declare war on the other, but my legs nearly collapsed. I could barely feel Elias anymore. Just a faint, exhausted whisper. Livia and Cassandra stared coldly at each other, waiting for one of them to declare war on the other. Cassandra's voice turned even colder. "These are not minor offenses. The penalty for such crimes is the forcible separation of your two souls. Or, if the binding is too deep to sever cleanly, the execution of you both." Before Livia could speak, Elias took control of my voice. His tone was calm, ancient, and steadier than I expected. "Then let me tell you exactly what happened." All 12 mages leaned forward slightly, the blue torchlight flickering across their faces. Elias told them everything. Finding me in the snow, my creator's body at my feet, the rage cracking the ice. How he chose to bind his soul to mine, not to possess, but to guide and teach me control over the dangerous void energy. How he had been the only parent I'd ever known for over a century. "He is not my host," Elias finished softly through my lips. "He is my son." The chamber fell completely silent. Cassandra stared with pure contempt, but several other mages shifted uncomfortably, visibly unsettled. Elias faded back, exhausted. I took a slow, painful breath and stepped forward. My voice came out rough but steady. I told them my side, the lab, the lack of memories, killing my creator, standing alone in the snow covered in blood, how Elias asked before binding, how he taught me control, humanity, in preparation for the coming war. I spoke of the prophecies that had haunted me since birth, the drones, the aliens, the deadening of the earth. The chamber stayed silent. One younger mage spoke skeptically. Convenient timing. I met his gaze evenly. I didn't choose when they would come. I only chose to be ready when they did. Livia added her support, voice firm. The mages exchanged uneasy looks. The hostility in the room eased, just slightly. Cassandra's tone remained measured. We will take your words under consideration. The trial continues. I met her eyes, and for the first time Elias and I spoke in perfect unison, our voices overlapping eerily from one mouth. If you doubt our word, we will submit to a mind probe. The chamber went utterly still. We continued together. You can look into our memories, see the prophecies, see the aliens, see everything. We have nothing to hide. Cassandra looked taken aback. The offer clearly unsettled them. Elias's presence strengthened for a moment. We are not afraid of the truth, are you? The blue flames flickered. Cassandra weighed the offer carefully. We will consider it, but if you are lying, there will be no mercy. The tension hung thick and suffocating in the air. End of episode.